talk a little bit, perhaps maybe on the Courage side of things, where they did make this move with Kansas City for Lynn Williams. But in making this move, they also made an announcement of a player signing of their own. They signed international Brazilian forward, Kerolin Nicoli Israel Ferraz, formerly with Madrid Club de Fútbol Femenino of Spanish Primera Division. So huge signing for international signing for the Courage on the opposite end, because I think for a lot of people, maybe perhaps especially people who find themselves very invested in the Courage, looking at these announcements from the Courage, maybe sort of saying like, hey, like there's a lot of the core that was in place here that is no longer going to be moving forward with this North Carolina Courage side. Obviously, in light of so many things that developed over the course of the 2021 season, the termination of former head coach Paul Riley amongst allegations following reports of sexual harassment and coercion via The Athletic and our friend and colleague Meg Linehan, and kind of maybe going through a little bit of their current coach, Sean Nahas, doesn't like to call it a rebuild, but maybe a little bit of a retooling and, reinvestment into the club. But so many players who were so closely tied and associated and identified with that sort of Courage culture at the time, that winning culture, have now departed. But we saw on socials, right, the reaction to some things, somebody like an Abby Erceg, somebody like a Denise O'Sullivan, Erceg saying, hey, I'm still here to run with the Courage. And now they went out and made a signing for a Brazilian forward, which they've had some success, right? We'll say with sort of converting Brazilian players to American domestic league style of play, right? They have a player, you might have heard of her, in Debinha, although there are also rumors there around that player who could possibly be seeking different opportunities as well. We often wondered how long and when and if and how the NWSL could keep a player like that from really the rest of the world. And we'll see what develops on that end with Debinha, but no official announcement made yet. But some excitement in bringing another Brazilian into the fold for the Courage here.
There's a lot of excitement around signing Kerolin, a forward. She is very talented and very skilled with her footwork, which is very common in Brazilian soccer players. They're good. They just dance over time. Cliche to say, but it's very true. Her footwork, her ball skills, she is so dangerous going 1v1 at defenders, and playing in Madrid in Spain, playing with that club, I think over 2 seasons, about 24 games, and she had 5 goals. So good stats there. I mean, not fantastic, but internationally with Brazil, she's a young player. She's 22 years old, and she started with Brazilian youth teams. Had a few goals, 2 goals in the U20 World Cup in 2018, and then called up to the senior national team for Brazil in September of 2018. Throughout this last year in 2021, Kerolin played 5 matches with Brazil, and she scored 5 goals. So that's a pretty good stat for her. And for Sean Nahas, you alluded to this a little bit, Sandra, but his club, his roster, and this is his first year as full-time head coach for North Carolina Courage. They've traded away Kristen Hamilton, Haley Mace, we just talked about, Caitlin Rowland, who is now actually back with North Carolina Courage. Abby Dahlkamper is gone. Sam Mewis, we just discussed, along with Lynn Williams. Kari Recaro, Haz James, they went to Angel City for protection over those clubs. Jess McDonald went to Racing Louisville, and then a few other things. Canadian National and rights have been traded away. So there's been a lot of movement surrounding North Carolina Courage and their roster. And before the announcement and the signing of Kerolin, it was kind of like, okay, you're getting rid of a lot of your big forwards in Jess McDonald, Sam Mewis, Lynn Williams even going away, Kari Recaro a bit more defensive, but she played in the midfield for North Carolina Courage. It was almost like, what's going to happen here? Who's going to score all your goals when you're sending all of these people away? And then they make this signing for the Brazilian forward, Kerolin, who it's a fantastic signing because this is the player that can really bring all of that together, all of those missing pieces in Williams, Mewis, McDonald. This is a player that can fill those holes. And if Dabinia stays at the Courage, which of course everything is just a rumor right now surrounding Dabinia, but that partnership could be really huge because they know each other. They're similar styles of play. It could make for some really, really fun matches to watch in the NWSL for the 2022 season.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the Courage have anything else up their sleeve ahead of any preseason gatherings or start dates of the year. And I think if you're a forward looking at the Courage, you're got to be saying to yourself, "There's a shot to really earn my place in that front line." So we'll see a bit of a re-signing news, right? But I think also of equal importance that we're going to talk about for Gotham FC. They have re-signed their defender of the year, Caprice Dydasco, to a 2-year deal. That's huge. You got to be breathing pretty comfortably if you're a fan of Gotham FC. Dydasco really kind of coming out with maybe what can be considered a little bit of a comeback year, right? Going out and racking up assists for her team, going out there and locking down that flank, earning defender of the year honors, and really becoming a staple on that back line for this Gotham side. And though it's gone through some, a little bit of a shakeup maybe in the offseason with the introduction now of Ashton Harris and Ali Krieger, something that they ensured that they were going to solidify was that outside back position, and Dydasco is going to remain with Gotham for the next 2 years. So that's exciting for sure.
Huge signing for Gotham. I think if she didn't get re-signed, we would be very, very, very shocked just based on the year that Dydasco had. She really redefined the way and the style of Gotham's outside backs, being a forward. She was a forward. 5 assists for Gotham in 2021, playing in 25 matches. So really solidifying her spot there and showing that she can be a player that gets all the way up the field and combines for so much of the creativity in the attack for Gotham, but then also can be a lockdown 1v1 defender. And when we talked about Defender of the Year awards, we personally at Attacking Third didn't give it to her just because she is so offensive minded, but that's a style, and that's really what Caprice Dydasco does so well in her attack, and her ability and vision to see the field, play these give and go passes up the field, and her great vision for long balls and crosses. So this is a huge signing for Gotham, and it does make for a promising future when you look at the defensive efforts that Gotham has. You just said it, Ashlyn Harris and Ali Krieger, and now having Dydasco on that back line. I mean, good things, right? Good things that we are seeing from Gotham. And I'm glad that this announcement for Gotham was as big as it was on their social media, because this is a huge player for them, and they celebrated her. Because Sandra, we love defenders here at Attacking Third. We want them to be celebrated as much as the player that's scoring all the goals.
100%. Love to see
Even
it. I know
more.
we did.
Celebrate them more.
Yeah, love to see it. I know that we did when it went live. We absolutely were like, we're gonna include this in part of the update for this episode and chat about it a little bit. Excited to see what 2022 brings for Dydasco on the pitch for sure. And maybe to close out some of the signings and moves that have been taking place this week, Racing Louisville and Chicago Red Stars announced a trade of their own. Chicago Red Stars welcoming back Yuki Nagasato into the fold. There were some conversations, and it came out that Yuki Nagasato said that she was newly engaged to her fiance in Chicago, and that they want to build their life in the city of Chicago. So with taking that into mind and into consideration, Racing and Chicago obviously engaged in 2 discussions right over that, and it was made official where Racing will receive Chicago's natural 3rd round pick in the 2023 NWSL draft and an international roster slot for 2022 and 2023 seasons to get Yuki Nagasato back into the fold for Chicago. And Lisa, if you'll allow me, I mean, it's on paper, this is absolutely a fan signing, a locker room signing even for the Chicago Red Stars team. In that aspect, I think it checks a couple of boxes, and it can be viewed as a bit of a win for the Chicago Red Stars. I'm not entirely convinced on the pitch that this is a long-term solution for this team at the forward position, perhaps more of a short-term solution in the mix. This is a team that is in desperate need of trying to sort of flesh out their forward options there because they are kind of limited at the moment. The team went ahead and put out on December 8th their intended roster that was set for 2022, and that included forwards like Mel Pugh. It included somebody like a Sarah Luber, but then we saw that Sarah Luber is going to be staying in Liga MX Femenil with Globo America because Liga MX Femenil has a year-round season. So at the very least, Luber could possibly still be part of the Red Stars' plans moving forward. But that announcement ensures that it will not be at the start of the 2022 season. So kind of, very slim options along with Malpew, Alyssa Mott's listed on there, and Kalia Watt as well, whose option has been exercised. But there has been no official announcement from the Chicago Red Stars on the semifinal injury that Kalia Watt had sustained in that match against Portland Thorns. She was on the sidelines not in uniform for the championship final in support of her roster, but no real update there. So in terms of where her progress is with that is still unknown without an official announcement. So working on unfortunate assumptions, the options are slim. So having somebody like a Yuki Nagasato return and sort of already check out those boxes in terms of like a fan favorite, in terms of a locker room signing, those are good boxes to check off. And I'm a little bit curious, Lisa, to sort of see if this player can have a similar impact to another player like Mallory Pugh. Because we saw what a player like Yuki Nagasato can do alongside somebody like a Sam Kerr. And there's probably people out there like, well, what are you talking about, Sandra? Sam Kerr is prolific. And you're correct. Nobody knows that better than me, having, covered her locally for the 2 years while she was in Chicago and sort of being able to see the magic that Sam Kerr can bring on a pitch. But we really saw a different look in Sam Kerr's game with the Chicago Red Stars that we are starting to see tenfold in the Premier League, with the Women's Super League in Chelsea. But Sam Kerr, while she was in that final season with Chicago Red Stars in 2019, recorded the most assists that she ever had in NWSL history, with 5 assists in a season, and being able to sort of become a little bit more of a collaborator while still racking up goal after goal after goal after goal. So it was a really nice glimpse into what sort of Sam Kerr was just beginning to tap into the time, and what we're starting to see now with the Blues more week in and week out. So I'm curious if a player like Nagasato can have a similar impact to be that sort of collaborative partner with somebody like a Mal Pugh, who was at times during the 2021 season constantly looking for collaborators and another outlet or option in the front line. So we'll see what happens there. But for now, it looks like a nice pick that people are very, very happy about.
I'm happy about this transfer back. I mean, when you look at Yuki Nagasato in Racing Louisville, she was dubbed as one of the veterans, a big leader. Anytime you spoke with anyone on Racing Louisville, players, coach, and all, Yuki was their leader. You leaned on her when you needed things, when you needed advice as players. And she definitely took on that role of, I'm a veteran in this league and I can lead the way for this expansion club. So now heading back to Chicago, where she's played before, she lives, her family is settling down there. It's going to provide, honestly, more of like relaxation for the player off the pitch. And that's something that we've seen a lot in this offseason is this season specifically, NWSL clubs listening to their players and granting their wishes of, hey, I want to go back to Chicago because that's where I want to start my family and be engaged to my fiance and do things like that. And the fact that these clubs, Racing Louisville and Chicago, are both listening to that and saying, okay, you don't want to be in Racing Louisville, you don't want to be at Racing Louisville anymore, and you don't want to be in Kentucky anymore. And Chicago saying, yes, when you're going to be happy here with us, we will take you back. So I think that's huge for the players because there is no free agency in the NWSL right now. So those conversations need to be happening between coaches, players, GMs across the league to make these players happy and where they want to be, because you perform better if you're happier, if you like where you are, if you can go home to family at the end of the day. So that's really, besides everything on the field that you talked about and the impact that Nagasato can make, it's off the pitch, and the mindset that this year now is starting to have for the NWSL, and making their players happy and putting them where they want to be. I love to see that. Let's keep that train riding.
Yeah, it's absolutely been a trend, right? In the off season, back in closing of 2021, and now even here in the early stages of 2022, where the players are getting involved and having their wishes listened to, and their concerns addressed in terms of wanting to find different options for themselves in the upcoming season.